Hey, I hope you're well. Joseph checking in here with story time. So I am going to condense the last 6 years of my life into a short but very packed story. So 6 years ago, I was touring a lot with different bands. I was playing a reggae band, I was playing in a rock band, we were playing psychedelic rock, like a mix between Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, somehow, but like a modern twist. I was also doing other projects like supporting different artists with the drum. And while all of this was very fun and I loved it, and I was really appreciated for the way I was playing the drum and mainly the way I was interacting with the other musicians, how I was supporting them through this music creation and playing on stages. So I was doing this very intensively, and at the same time I was living in my van. If you've seen my blue van, I was staying in that van for a winter. I bought it in September and I stayed until it was June, July. And that time I installed a wooden stove in the van, and I could be warm during the day, but as soon as it stopped burning, it turned really cold really fast. So I was sleeping in minus 20, 24, and I had no idea because I didn't own a temperature meter. But someone told me that that year was a wolf winter, we call it in Sweden, where it drops below minus 20. So I was really challenged, driving to play from place to place, playing. I remember towards the end of that time, that era, I was playing one Saturday 3 gigs, 2 in Stockholm and 1 in Uppsala, which is 1 hour, 2 hours north. And then the next Saturday I would do 3 gigs again the same day. And I did also have gigs on those Fridays as well. So it was overkilling it. I was really doing my best to play as much as possible. What I didn't know at the time, I was 27 and I had no idea that I actually had a limited amount of energy. So I just kept going at it. And I think 1 or 2 weeks after these intense weekends with a lot of performances, we were in the studio with my reggae band and we were recording 2 songs, and I remember sitting there playing some kind of hip hop beat to the reggae song, and then my motivation left. Like it felt like a balloon, like, and the motivation kind of like sailed away. And I kept playing, I wanted to keep the recording going, so I was just like, keep playing. And then after a while, my inspiration left. Like it was just like, and then I felt so empty. I felt so empty of it. I felt like a shell. I felt like my soul left me. That's the feeling. When I think back, that's like the feeling I had. It was like my soul was telling me, this is too much for me. Like I cannot handle being in your body. This is too much for me. You have to fix this, or I won't come back, basically. And it wasn't that clear at the time. At the time I was like, okay, shit, I'm tired or something. So I had to cancel everything, and I would just spend days in bed. I would spend like 5 days in bed, and then on the 6th day I was like, okay, I feel a bit better. And then I started to move different things, because as I worked with drums, I would always move my drum somewhere, or something else I was moving. I was always moving stuff. And then after lifting something heavy, boom, I would fall again. And it would take me another 5 days of resting in bed to actually be able to do anything, right? So I did that for 4 weeks, thinking that if I rested 5 days, it would be enough. So I was stupid enough to do that 4 times in a row. In 1 month, I collapsed 4 times. This was becoming apparent to me. Okay, it's not a week thing. Maybe I have to rest for a month, or I don't know. So summer was starting to come, and I had this one idea that I wanted to go down to Öland to this yoga festival called Space of Love. This is where I really know that I could enjoy myself, and I know that if I go there, I'm gonna have a great summer, because that was my experience from previous 4 years I've gone there. So I do, with my last effort, like last strength in my body, I was emptying my van of everything that I didn't need, because I was living in it, right? So I remember that day I was moving things from my van 2 stories up to my rehearsal space, and I was carrying stuff, and I was like, please don't break, please don't break. Like, I remember lifting this battery, a heavy truck battery. It's maybe like 25 kilos or something. And I was just like, please don't break, please don't break. And I was talking to my body, like, please let me just get rid of this out of the van. And then at 1 a.m. in the night, I finished moving most of the things, and I just collapsed on my bed. And then the next morning, I took the last things. I was gonna pick some people up. I came late, and I didn't care at all. Like, I was just like, you know, I'm not in a hurry. People can wait for me. I'm just gonna go my tempo. So I go, I'm really slow, and the road down to Öland was really slow, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 hours. We were driving the bus. It goes slow. We stopped to swim, I think 2 or 3 times. We had a good time. Down there at the festival, I didn't have energy for anything. So I was just like drinking my mate, which is like a tea, and sipping on my mate, and just standing around, watching people, talking to people, not going to any workshops, because I didn't have any energy. It was the one thing I could do, stand and talk. And in this festival, I had the opportunity to meet a most amazing woman. And that was the first thing I went to that yoga festival, was a talk where she was talking, and she had this inspiring presence. And it was like, during her talk, she could hear my thoughts. Like, she would look at me in the exact right moment as she was saying something that really hit me. And it was like, how did she know I needed to hear that? And we met also after or before the class, and I wanted to give her a hug, but she was holding a bowl of food, and I didn't want to intrude on her food, so I was like keeping my space. And then she was holding a puja, like an offering with some music and some prayers and something I didn't understand at all. I was there and I left, and I was contemplating, like, wow, I really want to speak with this woman, but she's too good for me. Like, she's way over my league, basically. And then I was in my van, like, recognizing my thoughts and why I was thinking this. And then I went back. And as I came back, they were finishing up, and I went up to her and I said, you know, I really want to give you a hug. And she was really happy to give me a hug. And that's another story in itself, but that woman, her name is Sharada, and she's been my partner for the last 5.5 years. And when she got to understand what I was going through, she could tell me, like, Joseph, you are burnt out. And she would explain to me what it means. And first I was like, no, I'm not burnt out. I just need to rest, you know, in denial. And then as time went on, I understood like what she was saying, and I started my journey of relaxation. Yeah, to heal from burnt out, we need to relax, or I needed to relax. I can speak for myself that I needed to relax and to allow my body to feel safe and to use my energy for my own nourishment and not give it away as I had been previously. So as I met this wonderful woman who lived in Bali and was traveling the world teaching her stuff, I realized I had to change my life, because I cannot live with this woman and be playing in bands, especially like non-traveling bands that are based in Stockholm. I needed to change. So very quickly I realized I want to do drum circles. I want to teach drumming. This is something I can do while traveling. And I had this idea. I don't know if you're familiar with numerology, but it's basically that we can divide life in numbers, and each number has a meaning, like a character. And the meaning, for example, of the character 1 is action, initiation, expression, movement. So I started to link all the numbers to how I would teach drumming, and that's how the 11 principles of drumming was created. And a few months later I created Drum by Heart, which I was running for 4 years, creating drum circles on Bali and in Sweden, and teaching drumming online over Zoom. And it taught me so much. Like it was an amazing time doing drum circles, and I'm happy to talk about the principles of drumming another time, but here it's really like the journey of relaxation. And I came to Bali with Sharada, and the focus was nourishment. Like I had so many massages. I went to this Ayurveda place where they were helping me, feeding me bone broth. Otherwise I was fasting half of the day, and then I was receiving warm oil massages and different kind of Ayurvedic treatments like Pichikil, Shirodhara. Abhyanga is the warm oil massage. Shirodhara is warm oil pouring down on your forehead. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's amazing. It's like, it's not dropping, it's like pouring. So it's like this continuous pressure, very soft pressure, but warm. It's very comforting. It's amazing. If you get the chance to try it, I can recommend it. So after some intense time of relaxation and nourishment, I felt I wanted to do something again. So I started drumming. Can you imagine? I couldn't keep my hands away from drumming. So I joined some kirtans. It's basically you sit in a circle or in a room, someone is leading a song and you sing along. And I was drumming and singing along. And I enjoyed it so much. And I played and I was like, I get excited and I hit the drum hard and fast, and like the whole room is moving basically. And then I would have pain for days. Like my hands would just like pain. Like in my hands there was pain, in my fingers there was pain, in my arms there was pain for days. Like I think 4 or 5 days it was just like painful. And then for 2 days I was fine, and so I went again every week to play the kirtan because I loved it so much, to play and sing music. And again, I would just be filled with pain for a week, 5 days, every week, and I would just keep doing that. And someone else saw me play, and he said, "Oh, come to my kirtan also. You can play with us." So I played with him, and then I had 2 kirtans a week, and then I crashed again. I was like, okay, I can only go out once a week, you know? And it's so interesting, like looking back, the pain was clearly telling me, like, Joseph, stop. You don't have to do this right now. But I couldn't listen. I was so hooked that I was a drummer. I was so identified with being a drummer that I couldn't stop. Like imagine from the age of 12, I said, I'm a drummer. So at 27, and here I was 28, it's been 16 years calling myself a drummer, more than half my life. And it took some time to de-identify. And because I went into drum circles and teaching drumming, I still was carrying that picture. But I was no longer able to drum the way I have been drumming. Like I could drum, but it was filled with pain. I could drum, but I couldn't play as fast as before. I couldn't play as hard as before. I couldn't perform the way I could before the age of 27. So it was that was like 2 or 3 years of my life. I went back to Sweden. I actually played some concerts, which was amazing, at the festival center of Ängsbacka. And there we played for like 900 people, like in a morning gathering, meaning every morning I was playing drums, and it was just 1 or 2 songs, and I was playing the drum kit. So I didn't put my hands on the drum, it was the stick. I didn't have to play hard, but I got really excited. And it didn't hurt me at all. And I am wondering why, but I think it's because there was 900 people every morning, like shining on us on stage. They were dancing with our music, they were singing with our music. There was so much energy in the room that I felt filled with that. So in a way, that carried me through. I could play for a week straight. And I'm not sure how I felt after that week. I think I needed a lot of time and recovery after that. But so that was like 3 years of my life, like playing with this pain. If you look at some pictures that I have on my Facebook, you can see my hands are fully tied in this wrap, this white bandage thing to kind of like stabilize my wrists. Like it was really down to my wrists. And I was talking to different people about carpal tunnel syndrome and things like that. And yeah. So what happened was that after 3 years or so together with Sharada, my partner, I realized I'm how to explain this? I'm weak. I felt so weak. That's the easiest way to explain. It's a big thing. I felt so weak, and being weak for so long, like imagine my partner, what she had to stand up with. I mean, she was caring for me so much, giving me so much support, and I couldn't reciprocate that because I didn't have energy for it. And I mean, yeah, that's another story by itself, like how when I came to Bali, I was like, it was a new place, I had no energy. I followed her everywhere like a little duck, and I would just, yeah. So she was a pure blessing in my life. But then after 3 years, it's like, okay, it's time to evolve. So I contact my friend Matthias, who has been at that time for the last 5 years going deep into men's work. And I started working with men people, which was a new thing for me back then. And I was meeting them online every week for a year. And the first weeks was transformative a lot for me. And I understood the accountability aspect of life. Like, we would every week decide what to do until next week, and then we would say to all the other men, we were 6 or 7, like, this is what I said I would do, and if I've done it or not. So if you haven't done it, they would ask you, why? Why didn't you fulfill what you said you would do? And this was so helpful for me, because I realized I've been lying to myself. I have been saying that I'm going to do something and not following up 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. I've had so many ideas and I haven't done 1% of them. And it was so easy when it was just me, because I could make excuses. I could say, well, it wasn't that important. Well, it wasn't aligned. Oh, well, that's not really what I want to do. But to see that, I could realize I've been lying to myself. This was one big puzzle piece for me, to realize how my inner language has been hindering myself from actually achieving what I want to achieve in life. And then before I left Bali that year, I went to embodying the warrior retreat with a very good friend of mine, Blue. He is a 2-meter tall guy, broad shoulders, kindest heart, so beautifully able to touch the vulnerable part of himself and to share that. So we were 5 men meeting up close to a waterfall, less waterfall in Bali, at a very special land where we was meeting to embody the masculine, the warrior archetype, and the lover archetype. So we were combining a lot of power exercise to get to our power, our core, with integrating that into the sensitive and open and vulnerable space. It was amazing. So we did the haka, which is the New Zealand Maori dance, and in these different dances they express different things. And the haka that is most common is the warrior haka, the haka that people do before they want to do something very physically, like going to war, playing a rugby match. There's different kind of hakas. I've also learned a peace haka. But so this haka we were doing was very strong. So it's a strong vocal activation. It's a strong body activation at the same time. And also emotional activation of really like feeling that rawness in it. So one exercise we were doing that is also very, very powerful was like me, I was going to push against 3 other men. They all had like a pillow, and I was gonna pass them, through them. So I like full force, like charged into these 3 guys and used to push. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, and then I took a rest, and then pushed, and then I rest, and then pushed until I had no strength in my body left at all. And then they took me, they carried me to the floor, and they were caressing me, like really allowing my nervous system to relax, really allowing all that power to be celebrated with softness. So after this weekend, I was fully activated. I had no voice. I was, how do you talk now? I was talking like this. This is the kind of voice that I could muster to use because I've been screaming so much, okay? And just for some, to understand where I've been, just before the retreat with Blue, I was with my partner. My partner was hosting a priestess training online, and I was part of it, holding the drum, the musical embodiment, and she was doing embodiment classes for these women, and it was like, if you can imagine combining movements with voicing, like making sounds, and setting intention into that, like really coming into what your body is expressing right now, feeling that and being befriending that, and seeing where that takes you, if it makes sense. It's embodiment practices. It's amazing tool that we can work with. If you haven't done it, I have some good suggestions. And I was playing music for these embodiment classes, and I was so inspired by the way she was moving and sounding, and also guiding the women on the call, how they could move and sound, and we did different journeys. Like one journey was you reimagine the way you were born, and this was amazing. Like, a lot of us has a lot of trauma of how we were born, and we have a story connected to how we were born, and we carry that wound also in the story. So reimagining things like that can help the unconscious to let go of the old story and actually create a new story, and start to embody that, really see that this is what I want to carry in my system. So it's changing the unconscious. It's amazing work. So inspired by all of that, I was really in a new place in my musical journey, where I was exploring movements and voice with the drum. So my drum classes, we thought that I was going to do like a drum class, how to play the drum, for holding space and all of that, in the priestess initiation training. But they transformed very naturally into using the voice and connecting the voice and the movement of the body with the drum. So as I came back from this retreat, I had no voice. I met with my friend Nicola, who is a singing therapist, works with breath work, and she's also in Bali, and she came because she wanted drum classes. She wanted to learn to play the drum, and the first, we've done it a few times before, but she doesn't live in my city, so she came to my city for 5 days so that we could do like an intensive. And the first morning she came, and she was like, I don't feel so good. I think I need to. And then she was started to sing out her heart into the room. And I could see what she was doing. I could feel what she was doing. And I was just in awe. So I picked up a drum and I started to drum to her singing, and she just went into it. And in some moments she sang tones I've only heard my friend sing, and he passed away many years ago. And it touched me so deeply because I've never heard anyone sing like him before in that way. And I just cracked. my heart just cracked open. My tears, after she finished, I told her, and my tears was just falling down, and like there was like a river in my face, and then she held me in that. She was just listening to it as I was talking, and then I started to sing because I felt what she was doing, and I connected to something in my body, and I just opened up to it and allowed it to move through me. And I went up a little bit, and then I went down a little bit, and then I went up, and I could feel something gently stretching here around my heart, and then I went down again, and I kept singing, and then over here, and then I opened my chest voice, and my voice entered my chest for maybe the first time in my life, and I just felt so much power and intensity. It was like, finally. So we had these 5 days of just exploring this space, of being in this heartfelt music, and just allowing the music to move us. It was really beautiful. So we were just playing the drums and singing, and we were both so excited to be in this wonderful, spacious musical creation. And I was so inspired by this that all my other drum students I had at the time, I invited them to make a sound as they were drumming. It was like they were sitting drumming, and I was like, okay, can you make a sound? Like, take a deep breath and make a sound. And they were like, okay. And suddenly their drumming transformed from like intensively focus on what they're playing to like being in the music. Because as they were singing, they were also moving energy, and they started to feel more. And then as they were moving their hands as well, the feeling in their body was moving out through their hands into the drum, creating the music, the sound that they were drumming. There was an instantaneous shift in how they were moving on their instruments. And then I had this like, hey brother, can I put my hand on your back? Like, it's just like a trying out, you know? We were playing around. He's a drum student, but he was also his own teacher. He's a doctor. He's been doing inner movement alchemy. So, I mean, we were testing things out. He's like, sure, put your hand on my back. And I put it on his lower left side. And afterwards, he was like, that exact place I've been struggling with. So somehow I started there. And the moment I put my hand on his back, he's like, boom, body connection. Oh, wow, I have a body. And I realized what's happening for him, that there is a connection back into his body. So I hold for a moment, and I feel him relaxing. It's like, okay, so I start moving my hands on his back up, and I can feel the vibrations of his voice in his back. And it's like I'm just telling him, like, look here, look here, look here, look here. And the vibrations expands, the area of his vibration expands, and I just keep exploring. So I come here and I feel, wow, here there is so much vibrations going on. It's amazing. So I was staying here and just feeling how things were just moving, and I could feel places where it was not moving. It was like his hand was loose, but it was like one finger stiff. So I was like feeling his loose hands, and when I came to here, nothing is moving here. So I was like pushing, and then I could hear his voice changing with my push, and then I let go, and then it relaxed a little bit, and then I was like, okay. So I started to learn how to move that tension. And it was not me moving it more than it was him moving it through his voice. So that's how I ended up with vocal activations and also throat de-armoring. And since I first did it my first time with him, like exploring, I've had around 100 people which I've been working with intimately with their throats, like hands-on, feeling vibrations in their body, their necks, their backs, also the belly. And I mean, I've understood that even the legs, if the legs are relaxed, there is more space for vibrations in the body. And it's been an amazing adventure to see how this work has unfolded. So I don't have any traditional education in this exploration. I only have experience. Like, how do I feel my own voice? How do I feel and experience other people's voices, both in my hands and also with my ears? And if there is something that is consistent in my life, in everything that I do, it's that I'm a listener. Like, even when I talk, I listen to myself. And this is what I teach all my students. Anyone who would come from me for learning about the voice or about the drum or music in general, or anything else that I can contribute with, is the power of listening, and how practicing listening is one of the greatest tools for, I think, anything we want to accomplish. And listening doesn't only mean ears. Like, we can feel the vibrations in our body, and for me that's listening to the body. And when I play music, I look at the people I play with, or I look at the audience and I'm taking them in. That's also a type of listening, in my opinion. So the transition I had to do for the last 2 years was to be from being a drummer to being myself, from being a drummer to work with the voice. And it's a very interesting because I had that strong idea that I'm a drummer. It felt like I had to be radical to move away from it. So I was telling people that I don't drum anymore, and some were shocked. Like one student of mine in Bali, she was like, "Joseph, you cannot stop drumming. That's insane." Like, she was literally worried. That's so sweet. And of course, I am never gonna stop drumming, but I had to stop identify with being a drummer for my well-being. That's what I could see. And I was more and more presenting myself as, I do vocal activations, because that was what was most exciting for me at the time, was exploring this with other people. And I've had sessions where it's just unbelievable, amazing results from playing with the voice with that presence. Like, I practiced for 20 years to use my fingers on the drum every millisecond, being aware of what the other people in the band are playing at the same time, and how what I play relates to that. That means that everything that I hear, and I can listen to a lot at the same time. I don't know if you've ever done, if you want to go deeper into music, there is a beautiful exercise where you start listening to one instrument in a song, and listen. I mean, you can do it in many ways. You can take a few seconds for each instrument, or you listen through the whole song, one instrument. You notice everything it does, and the next time you take another instrument, notice how it does, or you just do it a few seconds each until you can listen to all the different, like the bass, the drums, the guitar, the vocals, the lyrics. There's so many things in a song that you can listen to. And I noticed, listen to the same song over and over again, I can notice so much more. that is there. And then I learned to take in more. So with this skill that I have developed for the last 20 years of listening, I was able to work with people's voices because I could hear where they were holding back, where they were not expressing themselves honestly or fully, where they were stopping themselves from breathing, for example. Because I would just hear it. And if I sit with a session with someone, in a session with someone, I would focus 100% intensively on that person and their voice, their sounds. Meaning I could hear what was going on. And then more and more information came. So nowadays I feel very satisfied with what I've learned, but I realize it's just the beginning. Like, this sound exploration is so important. Like, what we can learn from our own voice is amazing. And I've learned so much these 2 years that I'm just astonished over it. Like, what? And what I get to teach other people who are interested in learning more about their voice is just amazing. Like, and it all came so naturally. And everything that I've experienced up until this point has helped me. Like, I would not be able to do what I do if I haven't had my burnout. I would still be playing drums. I'm sure of it. Because I was so sure that drumming was the thing for me. And if I wouldn't have had my weakness that was really showing up in my relationship with my partner, I would not have taken the step to meet my masculinity with other men. So if you're a man and you long for more masculinity in your life, seek out other men. We're running some retreats in Sweden. Matthias, the guy I mentioned, he's doing amazing work. If you want to join us, let me know. I'll invite you. I believe every man needs to have many men around him to be a whole integrated man. This is what was true for me, and I believe it's true for every man out there. And yeah, so this is my story. This is what I've been moving into. This is like 6 years condensed, and where I'm at now is to share, open-heartedly share what I'm going through, what I feel, what I am planning to do with this research that I've been doing. And for now, what I can say is I want to create spaces where we get to explore this part of us that is our voice. This part of us that has so much potential if we give it space. Yeah? So this is me giving myself space to share my story and hopefully inspire anyone going through a tough time or doesn't know what to do in their lives. People who hasn't understood where their passion lies, where they can contribute to others. So this is my invitation to trust life, allow life to move you and meet life. Do what you think is right and move towards that. I think we all have different techniques and tactics, and I think that's what I needed to hear a long time ago. I think I also needed to be supported, to allow myself to express what I feel, because that was really difficult for me in my life growing up. I thought I had to say what others wanted me to say, not what I felt like saying. So if you resonate with that, I understand you, and there's nothing more beautiful than falling in love with your own voice, with your own body, with your body's experience of life, and holding space for your body to experience life. And if you want to join us, we're doing some beautiful offerings online for your voice. We're also having some live retreats and shorter workshops in Stockholm, Sweden, 2024. We are a beautiful team here to create spaces for this exploration. And I believe that if we feel safe and there is space for us to express ourselves, beauty follows. So even if you don't join me and us, our team, create that for yourself. It's one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, for your sanity, for your own research of what is your body going through, what does your body want to engage in, and what do you feel like doing here on earth. And again, if you need any support, reach out. Please write a comment. How is this sharing for you? If you stayed until the end, I think it's been a long one. I've enjoyed so much. Thank you, all of you, staying with me and checking in on me live. And for you watching the replay, thank you so much for allowing me to take this time to share with you. It's been an honor. Until next time.